Raise your hand if you did. Raise your hand if you used iBooks Author with your survey makers last year. Keep your hands up high. Everybody look around and look at your experts. So you already have some experts in the room. Okay, next question is, how many of you remember 7th grade last year? I hope that you all remember 7th grade. I have a hard time remembering 7th grade, but I'm excused. Last year in 7th grade, some of you, I believe, were in the library with me, and we did, when you wrote your feature articles, we did a lesson in the library about graphic design and layout. Raise your hand if you remember coming to the library with me last year. Put your hands up high. Okay, so maybe like not quite half. Okay, these are the experts for graphic design. So what I'm going to do today, because some of you have done some of this before, is we're going to talk about two things today. One is graphic design for a magazine article layout, because it's my understanding that your current project is to do kind of a layout that sort of looks like a magazine. Am I right? Yeah. Is that right? Teachers? Yep.
A non-fiction scrapbook / magazine. So it could have more of a book feel, but it could have more of a magazine.
Got it. Okay. So non-fiction scrapbook. So it's kind of similar to the feature article that you did last year. Maybe not exactly the same. And so the two things we're going to do today is we're going to review some graphic design tips and tricks. And then we're going to all dive into iBooks Author and play around and see what we can do. How many people have used Pages or Keynote before? Okay, those of you that feel comfortable in Pages or Keynote are going to feel perfectly comfortable in iBooks Author, because when you started up, it looked exactly the same. So I think that this is not going to be too much of a challenge for you. It's just going to be fun, and you get to really play around and be creative. So let's start with just a really quick review. This is a quote that I came across recently, and I couldn't find who actually said it. Does anybody know what it means? Take a stab at it? Nobody? George?
Designer is inventing stuff fully. The consumer is artist is just.
I think that's a great summary. And you could argue with this. I just like this quote because it really sort of, when you're designing something, a book, or when you're designing a magazine article, you have a user, you've got a reader, you've got a publisher that wants it to be good. You really have to think about who your audience is. And I have a feeling that in RLA, you often talk about audience. Am I right? And who's your audience, who's your reader? One could argue that an artist also has an audience, but I think the idea here is that when you are designing something, it has a very specific purpose, and you have to really think about the design and how to make the design match that function. So you may remember last year we talked about the elements and the principles of art or design. Since last year, I talked with Mr. Polteski to help me understand this a little bit better, and he described it this way. So the elements are the tools. They're the things that you have. What are you working with? And the principles are what do you do with the tools to make something look nice and make it easy to understand. So here were the elements and principles. Many of them we talked about last year. Do they look familiar to those of you that were with me last year? Yep. So your tools are your color, your font, your shape. I don't think that we talked about shape last year. That's one that I've added since then. But these are our three tools. And then contrast, alignment, repetition, proximity. That's what do we do with color to show alignment. The most important one in the four on the right is alignment for you with magazine article and scrapbook layout to make it look nice. All right, so we're going to do a quick review of color. Remember that colors have meaning. Remember that from last year? Yes, kind of? No? Yes. And so the first rule for color is you need to use a color palette. And there are tools, and I will share them with you. They are similar to last year. I think I found a better one than the one that I shared with you last year. I'm going to give you a Google Doc with links to all the tools, so you can go in and use them. But rule number one for color is you have to use a color palette, or choose colors from a photo. So in this article, see the titles? Like the subtitles, the one that says eyeballs? What color is that? Where did it come from?
The sun.
It came from the sun or one of so you could use a color palette, or if you have a key photo for your scrapbook, you might want to make your color palette from your photo. And I have little tutorials for how you can do that in Pages, Keynote, iBooks, Author, and others. Okay, second tool. This froze, or I got kicked out. Is font. Do you remember last year looking at the font and downloading cool fonts? How many people have ever downloaded a font from the internet? So quite a few of you. I really love fonts. And so therefore I need to pay attention to the next rule, which is a max of 2 fonts, 3 only for very good reason. And you might have a good reason, and in that case that's when you use 3. But if you remember from last year, we chose a font for your title that might be kind of a fun, funky font that matches the meaning of your message, and then a very readable font for the text. So this would be kind of a generic 2 fonts, title and text. This was one, you might recognize this from last year. We liked this one. You see that the font itself is not anything special, right? It's just a plain like Arial or Helvetica or something. But look what they did with it. Like the article is about fault lines, and they took the title and they kind of corrected it, right? So that's showing meaning with the font. This one as well. The meaning of this article is about a paralyzed man who stands and walks again. And so the font itself, like the actual font, isn't anything super fancy, but the way that they did rise and then up really tall really lends meaning to that.
As you're looking at this feature article layout, can you imagine where your text boxes would go and your title and the topic that you're writing on? Put the writing you've done over the last 3 weeks onto the screen and imagine how it would look, just to start thinking ahead to the work you're going to do today.
I'm going to come back with 2 more examples. For the third tool, this is one that we didn't get to play with last year for those in the library with me, but it's one that I think if I just show it to you, it'll give you some ideas. You can make really cool graphics with shapes yourself. Rather than going to Google and finding really ugly clip art, if you find ugly clip art, I'm going to find you and I'm going to delete it from your file because it's ugly. Instead of doing that, make your own. So if you need a graphic and you can't find something that looks good in Creative Commons, make one. So for example, this is one that Mr. Green made for Capture Studio. What is it? Camera, right? But look at the shapes. What is it really? Circles and rounded squares. And that's it. And so that, you could make that in iBooks Author yourself, or in Pages and copy it over. This poster should be very familiar to you. Look at those 3 icons. Mr. Green made those with shapes. Can you see the shapes? Yep. And it wouldn't take very long, right? Like that's not too much time. These are 6th graders. At the beginning of the year, we did a lesson with 6th graders on branding themselves and making blog headers for their portfolios. And so when we talked with them about shapes, this is 3 examples of what some of the 6th graders made out of just simple shapes. I thought they were pretty ingenious. Can you tell us what one is? It's a city. What city? This city. See where they say it? Yeah, and the flyer, and the 2 round, what's that? The esplanade. Right? Okay, I will give you links to a couple of places. If you do get stuck and you want to make something and you're not exactly sure how to use shapes to make it, the Noun Project is a really good place I go to for inspiration. So I don't recommend downloading from the Noun Project, although you can and it's free and you have to give credit. But the problem with that is it's hard to change the color and to do anything with that icon. But I go to the Noun Project and I look and I find things that, like this tree. I could make that, right? And then I make my own and I can use my own colors and make mine. So. All right, so we just talked about the 3 three tools. Let's quickly do a review on the principles, then we're going to get into iBooks Author. So contrast basically means creating a difference in your work in order to distinguish one from another. So in your article, for example, in the Rise Up, you notice the title. The title is big. You're creating contrast because you want people to notice that title. If your title is the same size as your text, then no one's going to notice your title. So basically think about what is it that you want to stand out, and then what do you need to do? Do you need to make it bigger, change the color, change the alignment to create some kind of a contrast? So that's contrast. Alignment basically just means lining things up, and this one is really important for you because if you look at article layouts, they typically are in a 2 or 3 or 4 column layout. And what I want you to notice, obviously the text is easy to notice, right? And you can do this in iBooks Author. You can pick your number of columns. But look at the photos. What do you notice about the size of the photos? The width. It's exactly 2. It could also be 3. The point is, if you make your photo like 2.5, it tends to look strange. So you want everything to fit within this grid. And you can even also do lines this way. And you want things to line up within that. So your photos, maybe you just want a small photo, or like this small little box of data, you just want 1 width. But maybe other things are 2. Does that make sense? So you really want to think about this as you're putting things in iBooks Author. And what will happen is, when you put your text in, it's just going to be in there in the columns. And then when you start bringing in photos, the text moves down. And it's really nice. And then you can just kind of move your photo where you want it in size. Cool? And here's another example. So you already saw this one. What do you notice, other than the text being in the 3 columns, what do you notice about any of the other items and where they line up? Can you tell that the person who laid this out did so deliberately? Yes, no? So asleep? At the top, on the top right, see there's a little text, a little bit of text about that image. Do you notice how it's lined up? You see? No? See this area right here, this little text? And it's right aligned with exactly this line. Can you see that? That's on purpose. That wasn't just a accident. Alright, third one is repetition. And this basically means repeat something. And so if you choose a color scheme and you keep using those colors, you're following this one already. So in this example, they've used yellow, which really stands out against the black photo, right? So that's contrast. But then look, they've kept using the yellow. They used it here, they used it in this box, they used it for the authors, and that's repetition. That's it. And then proximity is, do you know the meaning of that word, proximity? Yeah, like the distance, how close things are. So proximity is just my simple little graphic. It means put things that are alike near each other. So in this example, this is just a really obvious one, because the photos are all kind of near each other. I'm not saying you have to have all of your photos near each other, but it's just something to think about. If you have 2 photos that are related, let's say you have 3 photos you want to put in, but 2 of them kind of tell a story, would you want to put those 2 on opposite pages? No, you want to put those 2 together. So just think about what belongs where and put like things near each other. And this is my last tip for graphic design, and that's just to begin on paper. So today we're going to dive into iBooks Author, we're going to start playing. But after our lesson, if you want to go back to paper and draw your lines and start laying it out that way, if that makes more sense to you, feel free to do so, okay? And then you can recreate that in iBooks. Okay, so here's my little cheat sheet for the elements and principles. And the ones on the right we commonly call cards.